Welcome guys, it's Justice again here from tutorialscamp.com. In the last video I show you how you can actually implement data types, the concept behind data types, and also why the need of it, right? I know if you are today, what I want us to focus on is variables in Java, right? If you are from a web development background, like you know of JavaScript, PHP, and the rest, right? Other language, scripting languages, then you are already aware of what variables, right? So they are just containers that we use to store value, and then we access them later in our application. Okay, so for the rest of you who are already aware of statically programming languages, basically I mean object-oriented programming languages, then you are really free to skip this, right? But for the rest of us who are just getting started, we can actually go ahead and then get a concept. So what is meant by variables actually is that they are containers for storing data, right? And these data, they are only available during your program execution. That's when your program is actually running, then that's where these variables are available. When you terminate your program, when your program is no more running, these data are not accessible, right? If you want data that can be accessible when your application is not running, or that will be available even when your application is in the foreground state, then you need to use files and then databases, right? It's something that I'll talk about later. So so think of it this way, okay? Think of it this way. Doing your application, think of it this way, okay? You see this container right here. So let's say doing your application, right? This will be the container for storing your variables, right? So let's say you have a variable and then you want to access it in your application. So you create a variable, and then inside your application there will be a memory in the application that will be used to store variables, okay? So inside this memory is where all your applications will be stored. So this will be like when you declare a variable, right, like this. So this will be, this container represents a variable, right? And then the variable inside this will be what? 5 plus 6, which will be 11. Okay, right? So the variable inside this result right here variable hold a value of what? 11. So inside your application, whenever you access this result variable, then you are going to get a value of what? 11. Well, so how actually do you create variables and how do you access it? That's what I want to talk about, right? So in the last video I show you the concept of data types, right? So what we actually do when you are a JavaScript developer, what you normally do is that you use the var keyword, right? But that's because JavaScript is a dynamically typed scripting language. When you use the var keyword here, it can be able to detect what value has been assigned to it. So this is your JavaScript. The var keyword will be able to detect that the value of this result variable here is what? An integer. And when you assign a string like tutorials, okay, this var keyword will be able to detect that this guy here, this variable here, the value of it is what? A string, okay? But that's not how we do it in Java. Java is a statically typed programming language, right? So whenever you are doing with things, you need to be specific, okay? You need to be specific and tell me, hey, is this thing going to be a string? Is it going to be an integer? Is it going to be a boolean? That's what I want, okay? That's how Java wants. Don't be like this is going to be string, this is going to be integer. No, that Java doesn't want that, right? So what we do is that we define a variable, right? This is how we declare variables in Java, right? You declare a variable and then you declare a variable name and then the data type that is going to take, which will be something like a string. Okay, a string. Okay, so this will represent, so this guy here represent the name of the of the variable, and this string here represent the data type. The data type is nothing, the value that is going to be assigned to it, this variable right here, right? So if the data type of this result variable is string, then the value must also be a string. You cannot assign what 5 to it like this. When you compare, when you run your program during the compare time, the JVM will throw an error, right? To throw an error that this guy here, this result variable right here is what a variable that's string variable. So you need to what accept a string what value, like something like hello, right? This is the right way. So that's get the concept. The concept is the same, or just get the concept, right? The concept is just this. Where is it? Something that I want to show you. So the concept is just this. Okay, how we define data type, the structure is this: your variable name, right? Your variable name, and then the data type of the variable, and then you bring an equal sign, and then the value that you want to what assign to it. So just like this. Okay, the variable name, this guy represents the data type here, this string represent the variable, and then the data type what. Later what you can also do is that you can declare a variable without what assigning a value to it, and then later assign a value to it in your application. Okay, so let me show you how actually this thing works. So open your Eclipse. I've shown you how to install it and actually how to perform some tasks, create a new project, and this hello world main method and everything. I have explained it in my previous videos, so please, if you have not watched it, please go back and then watch it. Okay, it's really easy. You will get a full concept of whatever is going on here, right? So now, how do we actually define a variable? How we do it is this: we define a variable. Let's say we want to print something, define a variable that will hold my name. Okay, so we start with string and then the variable name, which is my name, then we bring the equal sign, and then we do something like justice. Okay, so now this variable right here, this variable my name here, has a value of justice. Okay, and this is the data type taking string, right? So later in my application, if I want to access my name, right, I can actually make a reference to what this my name, and the way we do it, let's actually print it, and let me show you. System.out.print line, then let's say my name is, and if you want to concatenate, let's see, if you want to concatenate this string, okay, we want to print my name is Justice, something like this. My name is Justice. Now that's what we want to print on the console. This is actually what we want to print on the console, but since we have declared our name here, we want to get the value of this what's my name here. So if we want to concatenate a variable to a string variable to what to print it out, concatenate and print it out, what you do is this: we use the plus operator. I'll talk operators and I'll talk about operators, you'll get the whole concept of it, right? And then the variable name, which is the variable name right here, right, which is my name. So now that's what you have done with that my name and what the variable name, which would vary upwards justice. So here will be what justice if you print it out. So save it and then run the application, go to run and run that method, and you get it. My name is what justice. This justice comes from this variable right here. Okay, so that's how it actually works. Okay, and if you want to declare an integer value here, you can do something like int and then age, let's say 69. Okay, you can do my name is you can do something like my age is and then age. Okay, this value right here, because this age right here is an integer, we can't pass in a string here. Okay, so this need to be an integer, and if you run it, you need to get my age is 67. Okay, right. So let's actually grab the concept of what I was talking. Okay, so okay, now if let's say we have gotten an integer here and then we assign a string to it, look at what will happen, right? Because this is a string and we have assigned it to an integer, right? Look at what will happen. Is it you have gotten our error? Is it in required? Just proceed and then you will see the exception that we will get. You see, you have gotten this exception. Okay, exception in thread main java.lang error unresolved compilation cannot convert from string to what integer. Okay, so it is actually cannot convert from int to what integer, right? So now what you can do, okay, that's the concept. When you define a string, a variable, you can actually, when you have what do you call it, when you define a variable of data type or specific of a specific data type, you can later go ahead and assign a different value that does not belong to what that data type. Okay, that's what I mean is that if you define an int variable data type, okay, int variable, okay, and then you assign a string variable, a string value, okay, it will throw an error. Okay, and the same thing if you define a string variable here and then you assign an int value to it, it will throw an error. Okay, so you get a concept. And one thing you should also know is that we can actually declare a variable with that and then later assign the value to it. So what we can do is that int and then age, right, and then we can leave it like it, but later we can assign a variable to it. We can do it like age equal to age equal to this, and there will not be any error, right? We can compile successfully, it will run. Okay, so because this is within a static because this is within a static a method, it needs to be this needs to be declared as static. I'll talk about static keyword and then you will know exactly what it means and how to use it. You see, everything is working properly. So that's the whole concept behind variables, right? So now doing when we run our application like this, okay, when our application is run like this, immediately it's compared. The comparer creates a defines some delegates some space on the system, and then what initialize all our variables values, okay, so that we can access them. That's the whole concept behind it. So variables, they are just containers that we declare a value and then we put some values into it, and then later we access them. Then data type too, they are just different kinds of different way of storing values in a different format. So you can store values in string, boolean, and then we have collection a lot, list, and then something a lot. We will talk about those things, hash map, and those things we talk about it later, right? So that is how actually the whole idea, the whole concept behind variables. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. If you are new here and have not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe it, and then I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice day.